Hey guys, it's Rush. Hope we're doing well. Welcome back to the channel. This video today, I'm going to be talking about the current state of my 6-button FIGHTPAD, the Victrix. That's what I'm still using at the moment. Just to give you some general updates about the pad. You may be concerned if you saw the state of it recently. If you look at this, it looks like a complete mess. But I'll talk you through the mods, why it looks the way it does, and what I feel like will be the future when it comes to the Victrix and my 6-button FIGHTPAD journey. Right, so to explain what's going on, because there's a lot going on with this pad, let's talk about these rubber stickers that I put on it. So you'll see them everywhere. This was more an experiment. So I've put rubber, I've got to hold these down because I've actually unscrewed the modules. I put rubber grips in a lot of places. And the idea was, and I think it is actually a really good thing to do, is to give myself better control, better grip, better hand placement of the controller. They're positioned in a place where my hand sits on the rubber to make sure it doesn't slip. Now, I know you're probably thinking it's probably a gimmick or it's probably useless. It does make a difference, especially like with like the hand, like where the palm of my hand sits on the pad. So the edges here, there. Here I've put the, sorry, again, it's loose. I made it loose to save time in the video. These are great for where my middle finger sits on the back of the pad. It's only a marginal change in terms of grip, but it does make a difference because these surfaces are generally like plastic, quite slippy, and accuracy at high level in a fighting game, accuracy and, you know, good inputs is super important. The reason why I buffed out this side even more, this is a personal preference thing, I buffed it out even more because my thumb position, look at my thumb, I haven't creamed my hands, I'm sorry. So if I hold it, my thumb, again, this is because I've got like long fingers, my thumb sits more on this side. So I buffed it out to try and push my thumb more so the joint sits in the center. Now, I don't think your thumb should be directly in the center because it makes it quite difficult to do those quarter circle forward inputs, especially super where you're churning quickly. Make it difficult if your thumb is too far across. Going back is easy because it's my left hand. I can just, you know, easily roll backwards into the quarter circle back position. But quarter circle forward means I've got to push forward. So you don't want it to be too far across, but it needed to be moved a little bit to the left. So that's why that's there. It looks terrible, I know, but it does make a difference. And this, again, is a personal preference thing. It is because I use the ball, the joint of my thumb, and it is also because I've got long hands. That's why I've got the rubber grips. It does make a difference. I highly recommend trying them out. I'll put a link in the video description and in the comments to where I got these grips from. They are from Amazon, but I'll put a link to them for your reference. Now, I use the 6-button module. This is the reloaded version. The buttons sit higher. This is a better position. Still don't like the position of these buttons. I don't know if they're spaced too much or they sit too low. I think they should be a little bit higher. There's times where I actually mispress these buttons. I've put rubber grips on these as well. It's actually come off that button there. I've got no new ones to replace it with. And that was just an experiment to see how it felt. And it's hard to say. I mean, the surface of these buttons is quite slippy and it definitely stops that. But whether it made a difference, I don't know. But yeah, that's what that is. I will take that out and I actually can't because it's still in place. In a recent video I put out, I changed the springs in the module to stiffer springs. For reference of what I did to this, please see this video. Again, link in the video description and the pinned comment in the video. But I changed the springs to make them stiffer. So these are not stock springs. These buttons are actually more stiff than normal. That was another mod that I made to that. That is a great, for me personally, I found the stock buttons way too sensitive. Let's talk about the D-pad module. So let's take the faceplate off. So have I modified the faceplate? No, I haven't modified faceplate. That's a stock faceplate. We got to one side. So there's quite a lot going on with the D-pad and the D-pad module. So this D-pad, this is not the Sega Saturn D-pad. This is more reminiscent of the Hori Fighting Commander for the PS4 D-pad. It's not a Hori Octa PS4 D-pad, but it's very similar to it. And that's because it's from it's a Sega Saturn Hori SS controller. I got it on eBay, secondhand, but that's this D-pad. And the reason I went for this is because the thing with the Sega Saturn style D-pad, if I grab one, again, I should have prepared this earlier. I'm very sorry. This is where all my spare parts for the Victrix are. So there we go. There's one. I've got a few of these. The thing with this is it's so big that it hangs over the edges of where the D-pad should be. It's very big, and that means I feel that it's quite difficult to get your super inputs if you're trying to churn and get super very quickly. It's very easy to miss out the down and miss out the left or right. It's mainly the right hand side have this problem. You have to really go from here all the way to like there to get the input. If you try and start from here and do a fast super input just from that edge to that edge, it won't come out. These also have a tendency to pop out, even though I've glued. What I do is I glue the D-pad to one of the Victrix D-pads. I sand the Victrix D-pad down, I glue it on top. It can have a tendency to pop out a little bit and become loose, and that's another problem. It's because the diameter of this D-pad is too big. I do think this is one of the better ones. I love the design. The thing is you can feel the cross shape, but it has like a lip to it as well. I like this dip in the middle. It keeps your thumb centered at all times. It's way too big. So I've tried a few of the D-pads. There's quite a few that I've gone through, but I found that this was the more stable one for me when it came to inputs. Again, you can see the old Victrix D-pad, sanded it down, glued that on top, and it fits nicely in the recess. It's more in line with the shape. It's basically very similar to the stock D-pads. The diameter is about the same. Doesn't really feel like it's coming out. I can get those super inputs very quickly. I can go from the down to the left or the right very quickly and still get an accurate input. That's why I like it. The only issue with smaller D-pads is, and this comes down to like ergonomics and just general design, the smaller the D-pad, the more sensitive the inputs, meaning that it's very easy to get bad inputs if you're inaccurate. So you've got to be super careful with smaller D-pads. This is quite a small D-pad. But that's a me thing. When I talk about inaccuracy, that's all on me. But this is the one I'm more comfortable with. I really like this D-pad. And this is what I've been using more recently. And this is what I've been having more success with in Street Fighter 6. Now, what's going on under the hood of this? So let me get my tools to unscrew this, because the fun doesn't stop there when it comes to D-pads. Okay, so I've unscrewed the backing plate. The PCB is attached, and then there is the backing plate for the actual D-pad itself, and the spring. That's not a stock part. We'll talk about in a bit. So this is not a stock module. This is a module with switches rather than the membrane. Now, I made a video about the switches and the different PCBs you can use for D-pads when it comes to switches on my channel. Link to that video in the video description. Also the pinned comment. Here is the video. This is not the one I recommended. So I recommended the cheaper AliExpress PCB. But this is not that one. This is actually the Epindon. Now, I did not recommend the Epindon because the actual switches, these buttons, sat quite tall. And it meant, it's actually crazy, that it would double press. So if you pressed down on left, it would press down on the left, but the D-pad would also press like down itself or up, because there's so much pressure put on the switch and they're so tall, so sensitive. As the D-pad leans to the left or the right, it would press down these middle buttons, which is insane. You can actually hear it double clicking, so I didn't recommend it. But what I've done is I've actually modded the PCB, and it was scary. I've chopped down the switches, made them a little shorter. You can actually see, if you look very carefully, they're not all the same size. I think that one's actually taller than the one at the back. So there is a difference in the height of the switches. And it's really easy how I did that. Like, I was very scared doing this, but I thought, what can I use that's small that can snip away at it? And I just used nail clippers, some nail clippers, and I just cut a little bit off at a time. And this is basically rubber. Cut off a little bit at a time, tested it to see where was a good sort of middle ground in terms of the button registering, of course, and it not double pressing. Obviously, if you chop off too much, you're going to break the PCB and it's game over. But I was quite lucky. I did it first time and it was fine. So I've cut these down, and that made a big difference. There's nothing really special about the backing plate other than it's really hard to see on the camera because the thing is black. I put tape, not masking tape, gaffer tape in certain places, in the corners here. The concept there is to make it sit better in the actual recess. I do notice, and I think it's wear and tear, but the backing plate, that actually doesn't move much. It moves a little bit. It moves quite a bit more than that without the tape on. That just helps it sit in place a bit more. Other than that, there's nothing different about the backing plate. It's a bit of tape, gaffer tape on it. This spring sits on the backing plate, comes with the Epindon module, this one here. That also helps stabilize it rather than stabilizing it left to right vertically. It ensures that the stack, when it comes to the D-pad, will go there, that will go on there. Then the spring sits there underneath, then that presses against this. And that ensures that the stack isn't wobbling up and down. It keeps it in place. It's actually really good. In terms of the D-pad, I think that's all the mods. Did I change this? I don't think this is any different. I think it's just stock. I put that in place. You'll see the wobble. Look at this. Oh, this is just left and right. See how much movement's in that? That is a bit too much movement for me. So the only way you can really address this is by putting gaffer tape in certain places to buff out the edges. Actually, I think there may be some tape. Let me go back. Ah, there is, yeah. Look at the actual D-pad. I put tape in the corners. And that also helps stabilize it as well. So I think I need to put an extra layer of tape, a gaffer tape on these corners to stop it from wiggling around, because that does cause inaccuracy. You know, people will say to me, oh, it's not a big deal, or, you know, you're looking into it too deep. For me, I take fighting games and performance very, very seriously. So I don't want any room for error. So really, yeah, that is what I've done to the pad. I mean, other things that I've done, let's quickly go over it. This is like stock configuration, but these are set to a certain distance. So that's going to be my my RT. That has full travel on that. This has limited travel. This is my LT. I use that for jump. So I actually don't have, if I go back to the D-pad. So on my D-pad, that's obviously my left, that's my right, that's my down, but up is not jump. That does not do anything on the D-pad. And the reason for that is to eliminate accidental jump inputs. The LT button is jump. I actually have a dedicated button for jump. And that's why I've got a shorter travel, to ensure that I get a jump as soon as I tap the button. And the sensitivity is also set to a certain setting in the Victrix app as well for the LT and the RT. So I think there's some, I can't remember the settings. I'll bring it up on screen now, but I'll show you the settings I've got in terms of the actual software sensitivity for these two buttons. In terms of mapping as well, I have, for Street Fighter 6 specifically, so I mentioned, actually, this might help. I'll put it back together. Let me put it back together. That makes more sense. Yeah, sorry about that. So in terms of mappings, left is left, right is right, down is down, up does nothing. Light punch, medium punch, heavy punch, light kick, medium kick, heavy kick. This is my drive impact button. Obviously, this is Street Fighter 6. That is my jump button. That is 2 punches, not 3 punches. And that is 3 kicks. And the reason I changed that to 2 punches is because you may have seen the clip where I got taunt by mistake when I tried to press my 3 kicks button. That's because I pressed these 2 at the same time. Having that set to 2 punches eliminates that issue. So 2 punches for that and 3 kicks. It can be 2 kicks, I guess, as well for that. And for Ken specifically, that will give me run. So for my run cancels, I don't manually press 2 kicks or 3 kicks. I just press that and that will give me run. On the rear of the pad, so I've covered this up. I've mentioned this before. I covered the toggles for these because if you knock these toggles, it actually resets the travel on the triggers. So I've got that taped up. I know it looks ghetto, but it does the job. It stops you from accidentally clicking those and resetting those settings, because trying to get this one to the perfect notch is not easy. So that's covered to cover that. But on the back, let me just go back. Let me figure this out. So it's this side. Which button is it? Yeah, it's that one. So this button, and that has a rubber sticker on it as well, is my dedicated parry button. For Street Fighter 6 specifically, when I'm playing the game, if I need raw drive rush, I will hold that, tap forward. If I want to parry fireballs, again, I use the paddle, tap that. And if I get a parry, I cancel it into things. And when it comes to button drive rush in neutral, I will press my attack and then I'll manually press the 2 mediums. That's how I do it. But in combos, when I'm doing the drive rush combos, say if I do crouch and medium kick, let go of down, press the 2 mediums to get the drive rush, or then go for my next button, whatever it is. And then in the combo, I don't use these two buttons. I don't use the paddle. I do forward, forward. That's generally what I do in combo. Sometimes I mess it up and I default to this, or I press the paddle. But there's 3 ways essentially for me to get a drive rush with this configuration, none of which are overlapping inputs. It's just different methods of doing the drive rush. But I do notice if I do like button in neutral, forward, forward, I don't like doing this because sometimes you can say whiff the button, do a forward, forward, and your forward, forward becomes a dash instead of a drive rush. I don't like doing that. I definitely prefer to do button, let go of the direction, 2 buttons to get your drive rush. But that's it. I've disabled the touchpad. This does nothing. But that's essentially how my controller is currently configured. It does the job. Am I happy with it? It's the best configuration I've had 356 period, and I'm very used to this configuration now. But if I'm to be super critical, there's something up with this D-pad. I generally don't think I like the D-pad on this button, and I don't, sorry, on this controller. But I don't know if it's because it's a modular D-pad. It comes apart because what I have to do is you can see now it's shaking. I need to sort that out. But also I have to take this apart every, say, couple of weeks. I have to clean out. So I have to blow all the dust out of this. I have to clean, like wipe the PCB down. I don't know why, but after a few weeks, my inputs start going really funky. And if you ever watch me on stream, I've said, oh, my inputs don't feel right. That's the only thing I figured out. Take it apart, clean it up. And honestly, when you do that and then carry on playing, it's like it changes the D-pad. It feels back to normal. I don't understand why that happens. I've looked at, the way it's configured. I've looked at the actual physical elements of the D-pad. I can't see why it has these intermittent problems. But yeah, that's where things are. But I've got my eyes on another controller, the Beitong Pangu controller. That's a fully module controller. I should have that by the end of May. I am excited to try this controller, but I'm a bit worried about the modules. So you can have on the right-hand side 8 face buttons, so 2 separate modules, 4 buttons on each. But my concern is the alignment of the buttons. You can see in this additional photo here where the 2 4-button modules are in place. You can see that the gap between them is wider. So it's like a set of, so it's 4 and 4 rather than 8 put together. So that gap between the buttons, I think, is going to be an issue. And as you can imagine, 8 buttons on the face of the controller, trying to squeeze them on the controller, but not have either the end buttons too high up and too far to the right, or the inner buttons too far down and too far to the left for that right-hand side. It looks like it'll be problematic, but we'll give it a shot. I'll see if I can do anything, if I can tweak that in any way to realign the buttons. That'd be really good. But you essentially need like a one-piece module that goes into both slots and has its own dedicated buttons for fighting games if you want to go 8 buttons. So that is it for the video, guys. All my secrets, all my tips, all my mods, all my configuration for the Victrix as it stands shared with you. This 6-button FIGHTPAD journey continues to be a madness. A lot of highs, a lot of lows. It's very consuming, but it's still a rewarding experience because I'm learning so much more about controllers. Any questions, any queries? As always, give me a shout. I'd love to hear your feedback on these types of topics. Hope you enjoyed. Catch you in the next one. Take care.